So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today we're joined by Lucy Woolfenden, founder of the Scale Up Collective. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what the Scale Up Collective does?
Yeah, of course. So my background is 20 something years in marketing, and I started off agency side, but then went in-house and launched a number of products, including Skype for Mobile, Starling Bank, which is the first digital bank in the UK, and Yolt, which is a money app, which we scaled. I started Scale Up about 5 years ago, fractional CMO. So wanting to really work with early stage businesses that don't have that marketing strategy in house, but really need it to get to the next level. And we work as an end-to-end marketing partner for tech companies, with a little bit of a niche of B2B SaaS. We have in-house, we have audience insights, we have strategy, we have fractional CMOs and recruitment. And then we have, as part of our collective, all of our partners that we work with who are experts in their fields, whether that's web development or design or paid marketing or copywriting, so that we can quickly build the best teams for each client.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And what inspired you to focus on intersection of marketing and tech companies?
I mean, it's quite organic, really, because it started from the experience I had, and therefore the network that I had. I got all of my first clients through my network, and I still get a lot of clients either being introduced or people that I've worked with in the past. Through that, I think where we really show value is that for particularly you can get to a certain level. We've got clients that are on sort of 10, 15 million ARR, but they've never had marketing strategy in house because they've high ticket products or services and really good networks, so they're able to get a certain way without really needing to particularly articulate the brand further than the people that just get it. And that's a really cool point that we tend to come in at the point of private equity or Series A, where they say, okay, right, you've nailed that market. Now let's go to a new market or a new geography. And to do that, you really need a strong positioning. You really need to deeply understand that ICP, your target audience, and then you really need the clear growth levers. And I think a fractional team is really useful, and a fractional CMO as well, where you're in that stage where you're testing what's new or you're about to launch something and you're not sure yet 100% what that team is, or you don't have the revenue yet to bring that team in house. And that's really where we can fill that gap. We can get you to that next stage where you feel confident to go, right, let's bring these skills in house full time now. We know who we're targeting. We know we know what works. And now we just need to put our foot on the gas and accelerate. So yeah, that's our sort of niche, and that's really why we fit there.
Okay. Also, can you tell us about your journey into becoming a fractional CMO and what drew you into this particular business model?
Yeah, sure. So there's when I became a fractional CMO 5 years ago, the phrase fractional didn't really exist. It wasn't popular at all. I actually called myself the part-time CMO. There were two reasons why I personally sort of got there. One of them was I had my second child. I wanted to have more control over where I was in the world, what my time was, where my time was spent. And secondly, what I really love doing is that first part, is the solving the problem. We often call it the fog, where you've got a good thing, but you don't know how to get to that next stage. You don't know how you're going to achieve those goals. And I love being able to go into a business and working with incredible founders and senior leadership teams to really go and dig into that problem and work out the solution and test it and get there. And that's the part that I get really, really excited about. Once you reach a certain level and then it's just improving a little bit each year, that for me is less of a challenge. And so what you can achieve by working on multiple brands and at that stage is going in and getting it in that part that I personally find really exciting, and I love getting to work with lots of different people. And still in that, we in that sort of blue sky, anything's possible. mentality is always wonderful. Yeah, great question. So
Okay, but basically, what are the key differences between a fractional CMO and a full-time CMO?
is always wonderful. Yeah, great question. So a full-time CMO is really in a developed business that knows what they need to achieve and how they need to achieve it. They'll have product market fit. They'll have if they're not profitable, they'll have a strong revenue stream and they'll have the budget to bring on a strong team beneath them. You know, the CMO isn't the full team. They're not the ones that are going to be doing everything. They're going to be leading that team. They're going to be working with the strategy. The difference between that and a fractional is really the fractional is often the step before. It's where people the business is still in that initial development phase where they're probably reaching product market fit, where they're working out where their real growth is going to come from, where they probably not have the guaranteed revenue to be able to sustain a full-time marketing team. And that's really where a fractional can fit in well. And really what I always think is, and talk to clients about, is our end goal is to be able to hand off to a full-time team and to say, we've reached these goals now. You now have that confidence and you now have the ability to bring in that team. And that's why we also do recruitment, because, you need to have, there's such a wide range of marketers and different skills meet different points in the business, different different focuses of the business as well. So we then will find the person that we can hand over, or the people that we can hand over the reins to really drive it forward.
Okay, so let's go back to when you first started. What major challenges or gaps did you see in the market that made you think this needs to be solved?
One thing that I learned, I was in startups for a number of years, was really finding that some businesses in really early stages would either go one or two ways. They either hire a very senior person that wants to be talking about strategy and really getting into the detail and talking to the board about the vision and where we want to get to, or a very junior person that is so keen and will be absolutely wonderful but needs direction. That's where either way, neither option is perfect for an early stage. You need bits of both. But when you're looking at small budgets, you really need to think, okay, we need a direction so we know how to focus and we can succeed. But we also need enough of that budget to put into the delivery so that we actually can achieve those goals, not just talk about them. And that was really the opportunity that came about, and that got me started. I also managed to launch my business 2 months before COVID and lockdown. So I started it with about 4 clients in January 2020, and then was locked down in March. And obviously that throughout the main plan. I then started retained some clients, brought some new ones on, but also really saw that there was a need for founders who would have otherwise got funding, but they still needed to show growth. So we started a marketing accelerator that meant that bringing founders that had to do their own marketing but weren't marketeers really into and giving them the tools they needed. So that was a mix of bringing in the experts to talk to them each week, really giving them tangible action plans that they could go and do that and reach further goals. So as the last 5 years, nothing's ever been steady. So it really has been about evolving the business as to what's needed and where the problems that we can solve well with our skills lie.
Okay, I see. So, what was the breaking point that made you decide to tackle this problem?
So it was partly economy. It was partly there's a real need that wasn't being met. It was partly that fitted my lifestyle. It was sort of all the stars aligning really of what was needed, and it was at the point where I got in and scaled some big businesses, and now had that opportunity to go and take that experience to other businesses and to be able to work for myself with other businesses. We have
Yeah, awesome. So, walk us through how the Scale Up Collective addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
what we've done is just bring together the best people. So instead of one fractional CMO, we have our head of audience research who can lead all of the insights and deep insights and really uncover the core motivations and the core problems that need to be solved, and to find the details that really change from being a good marketing plan to being a brilliant one. We have fractional CMOs with decades of experience building household names. They've built household names before and know how to really go in quickly and make a difference quickly. We have great strategists that are building AI products to solve client problems on a daily basis. So it really is, for a service business, it really is about bringing in the best skills together that can solve the problems that you face, and identifying that problems and making sure that we're constantly understanding what's going on in the market, what the problems that our clients and potential clients are facing, how can we solve them better, and having that in the same way you would do when you're in-house in a tech company, having that agile approach to our processes and our solutions so that we're constantly improving what we're doing and how we deliver it.
Okay, I see. But I have a curiosity. So, how do you create a culture of customer listening across different departments?
But we're still a small team, I think. So I'll probably answer this from how I would advise a client. I think the most important part is really leading from the top. It's about understanding what are the core business goals. Can we break these down? Can we really get people behind the values of the business are, what we're really trying to achieve beyond the revenue targets of what do we want to do, what difference are we making, and then really making sure that people work together. Marketing has it's definitely gone into businesses, and marketing and sales don't talk. Marketing will say that they're bringing in loads of leads, sales will say that they're all rubbish. Product and marketing can also clash, where product say marketing are selling it for us, marketing will say products building the wrong things. So it's about how do you work collaboratively together. So at Yelp, for example, we created cross-functional teams. We had a brilliant culture of just very much openness, of a willingness to just go ahead and meet the goals. But we had teams. We had a tech team in Holland, in the Netherlands, and then the marketing and customer service team in the UK. So it meant we weren't naturally just there at the water cooler. So what we did was create cross-functional teams with marketing, customer service, engineering, and design or UX that worked at focus on different sections of the customer journey. And therefore we were working together and creating shared goals, shared working groups, shared moments of achievement as well, which meant that we all worked very much better in target. So we all had the same targets. We worked collaboratively together and purposefully together. And it meant that there wasn't a divide between any of the different teams because we were all trying to do the same thing. So there was no, classic arguments about what should be top of the list, because we had a structure to agree that. Sorry, could you repeat?
Okay, and for example, how has social listening evolved in recent years and what new approaches are you seeing?
Yeah, so I think it's all about microcultures these days and how it's very much not about brands posting on every social channel, I don't know if it ever was, or trying to create the one viral video. It's about how do we influence the microcultures within, and how do we really get the people, the influencers within those microcultures to respect and talk about and use the products or services that we're creating or selling, and deeply understanding how they work. Each microculture works very differently. It has very different styles, it has very different behaviors, and on different channels. So it's really important to deeply understand that. We use tools for social listening that we can scrape thousands and thousands of conversations across many different platforms, and that helps us to be able to inform any strategy that we do, because we can really take not just a couple of conversations, we can take tens of thousands of conversations and really understand what that is, what's happening, where can we, and what is the best way to really sort of take yourself or your brand into those conversations.
Okay, but when you talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
We work with quite early stage businesses, so it's often about needing to reach goals quickly with little budget, and not knowing when they're not marketeers, trying to work out where they should focus first and how to know. A lot of, especially early stage founders, get a lot of advice from, from the internal team, from the board, from the investors, from friends, ex-colleagues. And it is how can we help them take that subjectiveness away from making the decisions on where to spend the money, where to focus the business to get to that next goal. And that really is for our niche of clients. The other one that comes up a lot is that often now, especially service or SaaS based businesses, can be useful for a wide range of audiences. I was just talking to an automation tool. Their use cases can go from finance to marketing to music algorithms, but with a very specific budget and very early stage. You need to be able to prioritize that, and you need to be able to really focus in from a marketing and a business point of view on which is the right audience to prioritize first, or which is the right use case to prioritize first. And that's something we can work with quickly and easily to test and learn and really help them to get to that next stage. So it might be, you could service everyone, but if you try and say we do everything, no one's going to listen. You need to really pick the right use cases and the right people, the right audiences where you're solving that need that problem solved. And that's how you can get that initial growth and scaling.
Yeah, I mean, so to be as much as specific as possible.
And across that point, and it's, I suppose, for many SaaS, there's a multitude of pain points that they can solve, a multiple of use cases, and it's how to prioritize those.
Could you share a specific success story of a client who saw significant results using your solution?
Yeah, so which would be a good one? I think I think one of the things that we saw say at Yolt was a really interesting one. So Yolt was a money app. It was one of the first from open banking. We launched it in the UK and then scaled it across France and Italy. We had 1 million users using it. We tested different ways to find revenue. And actually, what we had was a really unique back end. What we built, a lot of other financial services and other banks wanted and needed. And really, we were targeting people that didn't have the money to pay a subscription for this. They were trying to make the end of the month. So rather than charging for that, we packaged at the back end and actually set our technology back to financial services and banks, and that is how we could create revenue. That was a process of testing and learning, seeing if a marketplace would work, seeing if a subscription would be the way forward, looking at bridging loans, etc., shifting money around, other ways that we could create revenue. But actually, at the end of the day, what was best was to keep that as a free service to the people that really need it, and to create the revenue by creating Yolt Technology Services.
Okay, but now looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
From a marketing point of view, obviously, AI is a huge one. How to really use that well within your tech stack. I saw a post yesterday that Spotify had said that you can only hire someone if you prove that AI can't do that job. And I think it's a really interesting one. We work with a lot of our clients and teams about how to build a MarTech stack that uses AI for doing a lot of the work you need. How can you build a Claude project that can help with your content? How can you be using Gamma to pull everything onto a presentation more quickly, using a Maker or Zapier to pull automations together so we can improve our lead generation for clients, etc., etc. And it's how to use that well, and what guardrails do you need in place, and how can what should we be doing, and also what shouldn't we be doing. I think is a really interesting one that we're going for. Another sort of bigger theme is also the sort of marrying of marketing and sales and bringing that more in, those teams more in together, which I think from a lot of businesses is really important. They need to be working together, and they need to have shared goals, and they need to be collaborative, especially on a B2B business where it is that relationship that's going to drive growth. Without it, it doesn't. It's a broken machine. So really understanding how that is and what that new role of the CMO looks like is something that's happening at the moment as well.
And how are these trends affecting how businesses operate in our space?
So I think what we're seeing is there are fewer CMOs in businesses now. I think it's 30% less than it like 5 years ago. That's partly because we've had poor economy, but it's also because of this merge between marketing and sales and growth, and really looking at CMOs need to be more commercially minded. They need to be able to really adopt data and tech and AI to really drive efficiencies and effectiveness across everything they do. And that's really seeing there's been from just 5 years ago when I started the business, and there not being a term for fractional CMO, to now where there are thousands of fractional CMOs on the market, which I think is a positive. I think as long as businesses don't try and work without any strategic direction, then it can work. But really, that is a huge thing that's happening right now. An AI perspective, it means that the small teams that we work with can be much more effective, and especially where they're using the tools effectively, so they're not doing that admin work. They're not cutting and pasting things in. They're not trying to be a writer when they're not a writer. They're not spending a long time going through data because they can enrich it with play. Then I had an example of, I went into a team a year ago and someone was going through 5,000 LinkedIn profiles to understand exactly what they're doing and when they're going to an event. That can obviously be done quickly through Clay now. So saving the time that pulls back your energy and is a drain on your energy, and actually helping teams be more enthused because they're doing more of the fun strategy planning stuff where they're talking and working and being more creative.
And how do you think most business owners are getting wrong when they're trying to address this specific problem?
I think where they think they don't need a marketing strategy because you can just ask ChatGPT, or just, not spending the time making sure that it's working and it's personalized and it's relevant to your audience. I'm sure you get hit daily with automated messages that are not relevant to you and don't even get your name correct. There are so many good tools out there now that shouldn't be possible. But I do think there's a lot of, the amount of people asking me if I want my marketing strategy done, or if if they'd like me to hire I'd like them to hire a marketer for me. And that's bad.
Yeah, and because we talk about this, what advice would you give to companies considering bringing on a fractional CMO?
Yeah, I think where it works, there's a really good transparency between both parties, and there's a really clear goal that a business wants to achieve, and that's why they're bringing them on. So as we talked about earlier, is it about them launching a product, or is it about them testing a new market, or is it about them filling, they need to get to Series A and they're not quite there and they just really need that senior strategist that can lead the team in. I think where it doesn't work is where they expect somebody that's fractional to be available 24/7. If you're paying somebody 2 days a week, you can't expect to be able to speak to them 5 days a week. Also, that the fractional will be the whole marketing team, or you can do a lot with no budget, all those things. I think where, from a positive, it's where teams bring you in as part of the team, so you know everything that's going on, you have relationships with everyone, you're open to all the information, because that's where really marketing can be really, really strong, whereas they work across all the teams and be part of all those teams.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And as you wrap up, what's next for the Scale Up Collective? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
We are building a tool that will be able to help, especially earlier stage businesses, really help to define their value propositions against their alternatives. So using AI and social scraping to be able to help them identify how to stand out from their competitors. So that's really exciting for us. I think we've got a number of really exciting projects just starting up, from health to B2B SaaS and fintech. So yeah, the world is our oyster this summer.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with the Scale Up Collective, what's the best way to get in touch?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm there quite a lot. So Lucy Woolfenden LinkedIn, or you go to our website on thescaleupcollective.com.
Awesome. So thank you for sharing those insights about you, about your company, and about the whole story. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
Thank you so much, Alexander. See you there. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. So See you in the next episode. Bye.